Hello everyone, this is my list for the top 10 video game soundtracks. Maybe of all time, I don't know, we'll see. But before we get into it, I want to show you my rating scale because, everyone I think has a different way of rating things, and this is just how I'm gonna rate stuff for this video, so hold on to your hat. Okay. So first one is what I would describe it as in like a word or phrase. So just like something that, maybe it's a feeling that it elicits for me, or it's like a description of a place. Like whatever this soundtrack elicits, I always have a phrase for it. Second one is nostalgia factor. I'm gonna rank it out of a scale of 5. 1 is like, I never personally played this game, or this game came out before I was born, and 5 is, I remember the soundtrack and it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling still to this day. Third one is the replay factor. I'm also going to give this at a scale of 5. So 1 is, I can listen to it maybe a few times, and 5 is, I still listen to it and I enjoy it whenever I come back to it. And then I'm going to total up these scales. I'm probably going to do it in stars. So you'll see like the total on the bottom. And the most important thing, is it a banger? Simple yes or no answer. I'll say banger or no banger. That's it. Easy. Easy. Let's get into it. First and foremost, we have to get into the honorable mentions because, I can't go 1 second without talking about some other fucking game that is not even supposed to be on this list, but whatever. First honorable mention goes to, drumroll please, the Hades soundtrack by Darren Korb. The way I would describe the soundtrack is walking around in a dark candlelit hallway. This is walking music, perhaps running music. I will say this more than once, Darren Korb is the Midas of composers. Everything he touches immediately turns to gold. It is a banger. Banger soundtrack. Honorable mention number 2 is, drumroll please, the Mirror's Edge soundtrack by Solar Fields. The way I would describe this soundtrack is atmospheric. This music is the perfect music to just listen to and chill out, and it also knows when to ramp up at the perfect times. It really makes you feel like you're in a city of glass. Like a deep cut banger. Honorable mention 3 is, drumroll, Can You Feel the Sunshine by Richard Jacques and SST Band, appearing in Sonic R. This song is fucking crazy. For a shitty little Sonic game that was the third in the series, somehow this song knocks it out of the park. Now I know Sonic games have been pushing out bangers for decades. This one feels different though. It's a song that can be recognized beyond the initial game. Banger! Alright, now we're gonna get into the big meaty list. Here we go. Number 10 is the Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance soundtrack by Jamie Christopherson. From fighting the president and having a robot dog sidekick, this game from Konami's Metal Gear franchise is quite unlike any other Metal Gear game, and by that I mean I don't know how the fuck this fits into the brooding, solid Snake we're used to seeing. To be fair though, his story makes no sense either. One word to describe the soundtrack: how? Just how the fuck does this soundtrack work? I don't know. Somehow it does. This soundtrack is insane. There is no need for it to go as hard as it does. The nostalgia factor is gonna be a 1 for me. I have never played this game, but honestly, I'm considering it. The amount of memes I've seen from this game alone is nuts. The replayability? 3.5. There are some really good songs to come back to and play over and over, and there are some songs that just miss the mark for me. It's honestly half and half. The total stars? 4.5 out of 10. Is it a banger? Absolutely. It is almost consistently banger after banger. Number 9 is the Splatoon soundtrack by various artists. This album for the original game is so fun and full of one-hitters. The fact that it also fits into the lore and features artists like Callie and Marie is super fun too. It's like Vocaloid but Squid style. The way I would describe the soundtrack is surprisingly a lot of ska. I normally don't enjoy ska. I would describe it as cheesy as hell. This ska is kind of cool. The nostalgia factor for me is a 3. I used to play this game all the time, and it's still a fun and cool game in my mind with a really engaging story. That being said, it doesn't give me the same warm, fuzzy feeling that other songs on this list do. The replayability factor is a 4.5. For focus music, it's great. I can put on the soundtrack and get stuff done. It's fun, it's fresh, it fits the game perfectly. Total stars are 7.5 out of 10. Is this a banger? It's a day-old banger. It's like so close to being a perfect certified banger. Number 8 on my list is the SSX3 soundtrack by various artists. Featuring artists like Fatboy Slim, Röyksopp, The Chemical Brothers, Nerd, and Basement Jaxx, the soundtrack is filled to the brim with talent. It's also the perfect backdrop to the countless hours of snowboarding and competition this game is known for. I would argue that this game represents EA at its best, and I would describe the soundtrack as in that middle genre of 90s hip-hop and rock. It's insanely 90s style, which I tend to gravitate towards. There are parts that are very Beastie Boys. For the nostalgia factor, it's a big 5. I played this game all the time as a kid, and hearing the radio announcement come on at the beginning of a slopestyle race, or my favorite, Before the Pipe, was always the guarantee before the cold cuts. The replay factor is a 4.5. Not one song is a miss, but the only catch is that anything from this game can be a little difficult to dig up without the remaster. Total stars, 9.5 out of 10. Is this a banger? Certified. Total banger. Having it play radio style works perfectly for this game too. Number 7 on my list is the Jet Set Radio soundtrack by Hideki Naganuma. Hideki Naganuma is best known in my eyes for his crazy fucking Twitter presence, but his actual acclaimed work is so good and still underrated in my opinion. And the word I would use to describe the soundtrack is funky. This is funk personified, and it's just so classic. The nostalgia factor for me is about a 3. This doesn't make me particularly nostalgic, as I never played Jet Set as a kid, but visiting the games as an adult, if you're like me, makes you nostalgic for how games used to be. Just look at that cell shading. God, I love cell shading. The replay factor is a 5. This soundtrack to me has almost endless replayability. It's the perfect music for zoning out, studying, or doing more focused tasks like cleaning. It's also just great to jam out to. It hasn't lost any of its quality or charm throughout its run in the early 2000s, and the sound is still so clear. Thank God for full clarity rips of game soundtracks. Total stars are 8 out of 10. Is it a banger? Absolutely. Number 6 on my list is the Doom Eternal soundtrack by Mick Gordon. Oh man, this game, this soundtrack, it just hits. The one phrase I would use to describe this soundtrack is, holy fuck, this big guy is coming at you with a chainsaw to slice you into two, and somehow you're okay with it because the bass just drowns everything out. To say that Mick Gordon is just a bass player is selling him short. He is a composer by nature, creating a soundtrack that is so badass it would probably make aliens cry if we played it for them. How the fuck does one human make all of this? How do you sample chainsaws and lawnmowers and make them listenable for tiny, shitty eardrums? I don't understand it. It's so fucking metal, it hurts. I love this soundtrack, my god. The main song name is so fucking metal too, like, the only thing they fear is you? Come on, guys, this is so good. The nostalgia factor is about a 2.5. I never played the original Doom games, the only one I've touched is Eternal. I know, it's considered sacrilege for many a Doom fan and I apologize. However, this game is great, fuck you. The replayability factor is 6, fuck the scale, I love this soundtrack. It's like a fucking earworm parasite of a soundtrack, it's so good. It's also disheartening to note that this is Mick Gordon's last time working with the Doom franchise, but what a way to say goodbye. The total stars are 8.5 out of 10. Is this a banger? Duh. It's a chainsaw massacre of a banger. It's so good. Number 5 on my list is the Super Mario Galaxy soundtrack by Mahito Yokota and Koji Kondo. This is a game that is just filled with charm, life, and a wonderful and also melancholy story that spins the Mario franchise on its head. The phrase I would use to describe the soundtrack for the game is perfect for an orchestra. It gives just the right amount of gusto and wonder in the right places and the right amount of melancholy in the right places. The nostalgia factor for me is a 5. I have not played this game in a long time, but man, the chills that were sent up my body when I replayed the soundtrack for myself were palpable. This soundtrack is just gorgeous and reminds me of when I played this game for the first time as a kid. The replayability is a 4. I don't normally listen to sweeping orchestral pieces, it's just not my kind of study or focus music. However, I would be remiss and lying to myself if I didn't include this soundtrack on my list. In my mind, this soundtrack not only complements the game, but acts as its own pedestal for the entire Mario franchise. Total stars, 9 out of 10. Is it a banger? A soft banger, yes. Nothing really hits, but I think that's the point. Before we move on to my top 4, there's a disclaimer. Big fucking disclaimer for me. These 4 fluctuate a lot for me. This is just my current ranking. All of these are in my most listened to soundtracks. Just had to, clear the air a little bit before we start. Number 4 on my list is the Little Big Planet soundtrack by various artists. This game is just pure nostalgia for me, full stop. It reminds me of when I used to have a PS3, booting up this game sometimes just to listen to all the tracks and to customize my character and throw up stamps everywhere. This game is a colorful, fun romp, and its soundtrack is the perfect complement. The phrase I would use to describe the soundtrack is a summer night, a cold basement, a bright TV. It's super catchy and not afraid to be fun. I mean, shit, there's a song called Horny Old Man. The nostalgia factor for me is a huge 5. Every song makes me think of the level it's in almost to a T. I miss this game so goddamn much, and I get chills listening to some of these. The replay factor is a 4.5. There are some big bangers in here that I can listen to over and over again, and some sleepers. Most of it is really, really solid though. The total stars are a 9.5 out of 10. Is it a banger? Duh. Number 3 on my list is the Red Dead Redemption 2 soundtrack by various artists. Fuck me. I love this game. I love it. The phrase I would use to describe this soundtrack is the perfect side dish. It's the grits and okra to the fat, meaty chicken that this game is. Is that a weird, out-of-place analogy? Maybe. I don't really care though, because that's what this soundtrack feels like to me. It just makes you feel like a cowboy, and god damn it, I want to feel like a cowboy. I always sing the house building song every time I'm in this game. It's like the best and worst earworm. The nostalgia factor is a 3. I never grew up with Red Dead, I've only heard about it through the gaming community. When I did finally get to it, however, it blew me away. It is so much more than seeing it on a screen. God damn it, I'm gonna say it again. It makes you feel like a cowboy. Replay factor is about a 5. Fucking hell. All of these songs are so good. There are darker, more calculated songs, and then there are the more sorrowful ones that I think complement Arthur's character really well. You play a man who is in a gang, figuring himself out, and the songs go along with that journey. The total stars are an 8 out of 10. Is it a banger? Yes, but perhaps not a banger in the traditional sense. This is an old-timey, out-of-tune radio banger. Number 2 on my list is the Transistor soundtrack by Darren Korb. This game is near perfect for me, and like I said earlier, everything Darren Korb touches is pure fucking gold. Ashley Barrett as a featured voice really shines through on every piece, even the ones she's not featured in, and I love that there are whistling versions of each piece to represent Red. This soundtrack is fantastic, standing by itself, and it was the first thing I heard about Transistor even before I touched the game. A phrase I would use to describe this soundtrack is circuitry in a sleeping city. I am really biased, but I do love The Spine purely because it's so story-based. Not that the other ones aren't, but you know. Also, spoilers ahead, spoilers. The Spine does end up being an enemy you fight in the game, and the lyrics describe it. I see the spine of the world, I know it's mine, twisted and tied. I could go on and on about the symbolism steeped within these lyrics, but then this video would be twice as long. The nostalgia factor is a 3. It's not really there for me as I didn't grow up with this game, but it's perfectly atmospheric. Replayability, fuck the scale again, 6. I have wanted to do covers of these songs for so long, and they're just great to listen to over and over. It makes you feel like you're playing the game even after you've left it. This soundtrack is a piece of the fictional world of Transistor. Total stars are a 9 out of 10. Is it a banger? Yes. And finally, number 1 on my list is the Jet Set Radio Future soundtrack by various artists. This fucking soundtrack. Fuck. I love it so much. Quite literally, there's nothing wrong about the soundtrack. Yes, even the song that graphically describes oral sex. I'll spare you the details. The phrase I would use to describe this soundtrack is extra funky and fresh. If you thought the Jet Set Radio and Lethal League Blaze soundtracks were good, I would argue that this is Naganuma's best work. It takes some originals from Jet Set Radio and turns them up to 11. It could be due to my love for breakcore and EDM, but I love the vibes of this soundtrack so much. The nostalgia factor is a 3. I will say the nostalgia is not there for me as much as I'm sure it is for other people, but this soundtrack is so fucking funky, I'm willing to forgive most things. The replay factor is a huge fuck the scale for this one, 7. I literally play this soundtrack all the damn time. It's so fun and it's perfect study music. I don't know why that's become a metric in this list, but whatever. It's groovy, it's simple. The total stars, 10 out of 10. Is it a banger? This is a certified banger. Huge certified.